Production. Everybody knows what he is and he stands for. As a matter of fact, as you all know, he was running for president of the United States of America. I'll tell you, there's a whole page of all his accomplishments. So I'm going to tell you what I know about this man. Because I've known him for many, many years. He's truly a leader. A person who's focused, has a lot of energy. He's a second term governor of the state of New Mexico. He's well liked over there. He wins by over 60% of the time he runs. And before then, he was a United States congressman out of northern New Mexico, where he served in Congress in many capacities. But one of the capacities he was used very effectively was as a negotiator. He negotiated with some of the hostages in Iraq, North Korea, and Afghanistan. And I will tell you that Governor Richardson has a knack for talking to people. It's a real way of dealing and negotiating with people. That's why he's been so successful. But I'll also tell you that Governor Richardson is one of those people who doesn't hesitate to reach out and work with people. Governor, if you recall, there were 11 senators, Democrats, who broke quorum in the Texas Senate about 7 years ago, breaking quorum when the Republican majority, through time delay, was trying to pass legislation to change the congressional districts in the middle of the decade. But I got to tell you that Governor Perry actually was chasing us to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Is that correct? They were trying to send DPS and Texas Rangers to go ahead and bring us back. And our good host, Governor Richardson, greeted us and said, well, the Texas Rangers have no jurisdiction here in New Mexico. Let me tell you, Governor Richardson also was a nominee for the U.S. Commerce Secretary. I got to tell you that he's well respected. He's done a lot for our country, for the state of New Mexico. His focus is on the bread and butter basics. That is healthcare, jobs, economic development, and education. Those are the things that make people a good quality of life. And that's his focus. He doesn't get sidetracked on social issues that are divisive to our community. For all his public service, I got to tell you that Governor, I was somewhat surprised that he gets speeding tickets in Mexico. He's got a couple, and I'll tell you what I do. You need to come over to Texas to get to the state official plates. Here in Texas, you will not get a speeding ticket. Let me introduce my good friend, the Governor of New Mexico, Bill Richardson.
Please stay standing. You know, I feel like home here. It was because I've been here 3 times in Corpus Christi. And the first thing I want to say is many of you here, in 1982, when I was first elected, the same year as South Montefiore, many of you attended a fundraiser for me. And I was nobody then. I was skinny. But I won. And you remember your friends that were there when you weren't such a big shot. And I thank you. Thank you very much, Julie, for that introduction. You have a legend over you. You know, this guy's been a leader of the Texas State Senate, vice chair of the Finance Committee, somebody that always stands up with a party for values. If you look at the engineering school and higher ed, all around this county and this community, it's probably got Chewy's imprint. If you look at some of the women's centers here, you've got Chewy's imprint. If you look at somebody that I remember very well when I think it was Governor Perry wanted to get a vote on redistricting, which is something I'm going to talk to you about. It was Chewy that led the Texas State Democrats, and he said, we have a friend in New Mexico, and it's Governor Richardson. So want to say some nice things about other people, but you've got a treasure here. Give them a big hand. Julie, thank you also for mentioning my short-lived presidential race. I tell people I had two problems in that race. Obama and Hillary. But I did make it through several primaries. But it was a great experience. And I was hoping to make it here in Texas because I love the theme of this dinner. Now, I want to tell you this. If New Mexico, Colorado, Montana states that previously had been almost consistently going Republican, we can elect an African American as President of the United States, I say Texas can go blue. And I think if you just look at the Texas Democratic women, the Coastal Bend Democrats, the Linda Figueroa, the Lisa Hernandez, Barbara Klein, Lucy Rubio, Texas Democratic women in this county have had enormous success in electing Democrats. Yeah, I know we've had some reversals lately, but I think if you lead the effort to make this state blue, I think it can happen. Now, I don't get involved in primaries in other states, especially when I have a ton of friends running. But I want to just tell you about a couple of individuals that I know that are running. It's uncertain what race they're going to run in. One is John Sharp, who is a candidate, I believe, for Senate, who I've known a long time. And the reason I mentioned Sharp, and Mr. Gilbert's back there, is that I think for the first time we have a lot of electable statewide Democrats that can really lead. And so, Bill White is another friend of mine, and I see his son is here, Will White. Now, my wife and I have known the Whites a long time. He was Deputy Secretary of Energy. I was Secretary of Energy. We didn't coincide, but we knew each other. I always used to remember why White would always ask me about Hispanics and Latin American immigration. Enormous curiosity. Then he became mayor of Houston. He's obviously done a great job. Now, I don't know what he's announcing for, but he did have a fundraiser in Santa Fe for his Senate race. And if he's not running for Senate, I want my money back. Well, but the reason I mentioned that is I want to tell you that my main message to you here, after I talk about a few issues, is party unity, organization, grassroots. And Bill White did something, his family did something that I think is very indicative of the importance of grassroots politics. This is what it is. The fundraiser was held in Santa Fe. My wife and his wife, Andrea, were good friends in Washington. My wife wrote a substantial check. She decides how much we spend. And I remember a few days after the event, we got a letter. And it was from Andrea White's mother, saying thank you for helping Bill White. This is the mother of the spouse. Handwritten letter. We found out that she writes it to every candidate, every donor. I think that's really grassroots. My wife said to me, if she does this, we're going to send her another check. I said, well, let's not overdo it. But I think you've got some superb candidates. I think it's very important that we look at Texas. And I know here in Corpus, and I know you've had